Hello and welcome to the Christ Principle episode 3. In this video, I will expand upon identity and the importance of consciously choosing the identity that you wish moment to moment by asking yourself the question, what identity am I creating from? Now this is highly important because every time you create, you will only create your creation will reflect the identity that you hold. So every moment you hold a different identity. And why? And I say this because I'll give the analogy of a flip book or a film or a GIF where it's a very subtle thing, but every moment there's a different version of yourself that you're creating from. So for example, let's say in this moment I am holding the identity of happy, and by holding that identity I am able to create from that space of happy and happiness by being and embodying happy and happiness as a state of being and as an identity. And by holding that identity of happiness in this moment, I'm able to create from that platform or identity of happiness, and therefore create these and create out of it and create happiness in my creations and in my interactions and my thoughts and my actions, etc. Now, for example, this next moment right now, I can slightly shift my identity from happiness to ease, or in this moment I can switch my identity to empowered, and in this moment I can switch my identity to masterful, and now I can switch it to allowing or trusting, and now I can switch it to supreme love, for example. And anytime I do that consciously, I'm actually creating a platform for myself to create from. Because if I was to unconsciously create and not choose a specific identity or platform to create from, then I'd be getting myself into a lot of trouble by creating a reality that I'm not in control of. And what I mean by that is if I, for example, would go out into my daily life and have an experience with a really frustrated person, and this person is really, really frustrated, and I'm, let's say, happy, and I come in with an identity of happy, and I come in contact with someone that's holding an identity of frustration, and this person comes at me and co-creates with me, but they're creating from an identity of frustration. And so all they're capable of creating is things that have frustration embedded in them. So whatever they say or think will have that frustration embedded in it. While I have the ability, if I'm conscious, to maintain my higher perspective of happy, and when this person speaks to me and creates frustration, I have two options. One, I can drop myself down and be affected by the frustration and have that frustration come into my space and unconsciously bring my identity down to that level of frustration, and then this is how it'll unfold. Basically, if I unconsciously react with frustration, my identity becomes frustration, and I react back to the person that was initially frustrated with frustration, and then that frustration can escalate into anger, and maybe that person could start getting angry. Then they throw that anger back at me, and bringing my identity even lower to denser vibrations of anger, where I react in anger, and then it bubbles up and blows up in creating anger and frustration in my experience in my life. It makes me feel those things, and And then I wonder, how did I get to where I'm at? Option 2 is the frustrated person is throwing their energy of frustration, and I have the ability, if I'm conscious and aware that I have this ability, and actually I'm able to hold my foundation of happy, and maybe this time I see that this person is frustrated, and I choose to change my identity and embody and be compassion, for example. And not compassion in the sense where I'm being a rescuer and kind of fulfilling this person by being someone that they're able to to entertain these thoughts of frustration. What I mean by compassion is that I'd see that this person is holding a lower vibration of frustration, and I can come down to that level while holding the level of while holding the identity of compassion, happy, masterful, stable. Come down to their level and show them that it's possible to look at the scenario through a different lens, a lens of, for example, understanding. Instead of frustration, replace frustration with understanding, or replace frustration with the identity of acceptance. And so what you can do then is directly transmute their energy by giving them the option to choose something else other than frustration. Because you're holding a new identity, and this identity of compassion, stability, and masterful, and balanced, and ease, and allowing, and trust, holding that type of identity will allow you to create in that way. And so when you're talking to someone that's holds an identity of frustrated, they're not going to be able to hold that identity for very long if you're consciously choosing to hold a higher identity of compassion, love, appreciation, acceptance. Then what happens is that person is either going to leave because they're choosing to be frustrated, and they can't be around your vibration because you're not attracting that. You're holding your stability of this higher vibration of acceptance, peace, love, etc. This person will have to either leave or raise up to your level. And then, therefore, you've literally uplifted someone's day by holding your identity in a masterful and conscious way. So that might have been kind of like a mouthful or earful, but my fundamental point or question is, what identity are you creating from? Because if you're creating from an identity of unworthy or unappreciated, then you're going to create unworthiness and unappreciation in everything you do. And you have the ability to change your identity, because moment to moment you literally are holding a different identity. One moment you could be the frustrated, unappreciated, unworthy version of yourself, and the next moment you could be the empowered, the greatest, most masterful, most accepting, allowing, elegant, beautiful version of yourself. And depending on the identity you hold in the given moment is what you'll end up creating from. So this is definitely very useful because it allows you to create very specifically with precision in any given situation. So for example, in a business meeting, you may hold a different type of identity of, focus, awareness, and masterful and creative, for example. And then when you're out having fun with a group of friends that you've known for a really long time, you may want to be, happy, joy, witty, allowing, creative, fun, playful, different type of identity that you can create from, depending on the situation. So I urge you to ask yourself the question, not only who am I, and keep going deeper and deeper, but also ask yourself the question, what identity am I creating from right now? And do this as much as possible in your walking around space when you wake up, when you go to work, when you go to school, when you go start some creative venture. Always make sure you set your identity before you do anything, because you're going to create based off of what your identity is. So I love you again unconditionally, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and goodbye until next time. I love you.